real world while learning and then smarter way. Real world is your teacher. Whatever you learn from the real world is digested. You can apply it. It's a way it's available for you. Apply it easily. Connect to real world while learning smarter. Important to recollect from what you have learned. It's easy to recollect when you remember the real world. So what are we going to do this in this video? Let's start on that. We are going to talk about autoscaling, Google Cloud Platform, and Spring Boot. These are the two tools we are going to use to show how we can autoscale applications with applications. So what we will learn first here is we'll build a small Hello World Spring Boot with REST API call. Hello World Spring Boot with a REST API call connecting the Spring Boot to a cloud platform. Second time we'll see. Then we'll do a containerization of Spring Boot by making Docker images using a Maven zip plugin. And then we will put that into a container registry. I'm sorry, not client registry. Then we will call the credentials to use Kubernetes, and we'll pick up the Spring Boot from registry and put it in a Docker. Then we'll create more than one pods, and then we'll assign this to a 3-node load balancer. Remember that this is very important, and this is where the concept of autoscaling starts. Basically, we're going to create a Docker image using the upload Maven zip plugin, upload the container in the container registry. Then we're going to see how the Kubernetes automatically picks up the Docker images which are there in the container registry. Just to reiterate, let's see from the beginning. After we ensure that you are logged into cluster using Kubernetes control, we're going to see a lot of commands using kubectl. So first, what we're going to do, we're going to connect to Google Cloud using the credentials stored, from a JSON file. From where this JSON file comes, JSON file is generated from service accounts. Then we'll go into Cloud Shell, pull the code from the Git, and run it in Cloud Shell of Google Cloud. It's also known as compute engine, right? Then what we're going to do, we're going to pull the image Docker images using Google Cloud. Should Maven upload the content. So I already repeated this. The next is we also will check if using Docker command we can run inside the Kubernetes or Spring Boot application here. And then we'll deploy the Spring Boot application in a cluster using kubectl, the command line control for Kubernetes. So some steps which are involved is we will create a service, Kubernetes control. Then what we do, we take our application which is deployed using deployment. We'll expose our deployment in a cluster, the load balancer, or say the type is load balancer. Then we will access our application using external IP. Then we come to the most important part, that is, we'll scale our deployment to multiple instances using replicas or replica controllers. Last time what we saw is we see a ship and the containers, and behind you see the dockers, right? And we said that yes, there's a crane which helps in loading the containers from the docker. Let's try to make this simple analogy. Yeah, you cannot have a true perfect analogy. If this ship sinks, right, all your containers are gone. But in our software world, even if the ship, gets drowned in the sea, we have the capacity to have another ship or pod. That's what we're going to do. Check now. Let's try doing an analogy here. So, do you see my screen? I'm not sure on that. Let's try maybe here. So you see this now. In this diagram, you see a deployment, scaling updates and rollbacks. So what is deployment in the real world? And this is your pod, is just like a ship, right? And this is your container. In the container are your actual items. Either is your application, maybe your Spring Boot application. So let's see now back here. Let's compare Docker deployment. So what happens? What is deployment here? Deployment simply here is nothing but the containers which come to the dockyard, right? The containers may come in a train or in a truck, right? Containers come and they are put on the docker. Now from the docker, if you need to put into the ship, we call this as deployment. So that is what we see here. This is your deployment. And we are deploying what here? We are using the crane, or we are using Kubernetes. It's deploying. It is deploying what? It is deploying the container inside the pod. But how do you make this container? When you take the Spring application code, you containerize that using Docker. That is what we're going to learn. How to containerize the Spring application, Spring Boot application. And then how to put this container inside the pod. So we are going to use the Google Cloud Platform as told before with Spring Boot. We're going to generate a jar file. Observe that we're going to use Java. We're going to generate jar. We're going to use .8 version, 8 version 8, and then going to add dependencies for Google Cloud. We added this. Then let Google Storage. Let Google Cloud Platform. Generate control. And then save the file. So this file gets saved in your downloads, and then what you do is you come here, then you start importing the project, right? So after you import this project, you see a demo project here. So this is your basic project where it'll show you all your POM dependencies, which you pulled in, right? You pulled in Spring Boot, then you have pulled in Spring Cloud dependencies, then your Maven assembly plugin, and you have Google Cloud Platform. So what are the dependencies usually? Let's see this. In our demo.zip, which we downloaded. So let's go and examine this. You need to see the POM file, correct? So this is a POM file. And I'm not sure if you're able to see that, so I'll reshare this once again. Where can I see my POM file is here? So we have dependencies where you have Spring Cloud GCP starter. Then we have, this is for messaging, Spring Cloud GCP starter, pubs up, publish, subscribe. Then we have storage. We also have Spring Boot Maven plugin. We will later watch on how do I include the Maven zip plugin and how does it create Docker images for me, right? So for now, we observe the POM file, and then you're going to back to the deployment. Let's see if we can run this project. Maven, okay, it's here. Maven clean. So I'm going to do Maven clean, then Maven compile. But before that, let's see the code once. So what do we see? Let's have a quick code walk. What we see is a Spring Boot application, add annotation. We are not going to do anything great in this. What I what we're going to do is we're going to start a Spring Boot application. You're going to have a REST controller, say hello world controller. You can have this in another file or in the same file. I just kept it to make it simple. I kept in the same file. And then what else I have done to connect to cloud? If you see my previous episode, you had seen that there was an issue with Google Connect. So this is trying to connect to Google Cloud Platform when it is coming up, right? So what all we need to do for that? If we go to resources folder, you can see in the application.properties that we give a path to the credentials here. Now the question comes is that, how do I put my credentials in a file? So as you remember last time, we also talked about how to, generate keys and put that in a JSON file from service accounts. So what we do is in this, we give the path to that JSON. The most easiest thing to do in this case is just put your JSON file in your resources folder, which I put here, right? And then let's start the application now. Let's see. Is this application starting? Yeah, let's see the logs. The Spring Boot application is starting. Wow, congrats. You are able to connect to a cloud platform, Google Cloud Platform, using a project ID. And then you are connecting using the keys. So those keys are generated. I'm not going to go more deep into the keys because I already explained last time what we did. If you still have questions, you can visit my last episode, for which I put the link for the last episode in the below link of this video. But remember one thing, do not share these credentials with public by putting that in a Git file. If you're doing that, then please make it private. Otherwise, somebody is going to know your credentials. So first, as told, I'm going to log into a Cloud Shell. For that, you need to go to your Kubernetes engine, and I'll just show you how to go that. You just try to log into your console.google.com, Google Cloud Console, and from there try to locate your cluster. So I'm going to go to my Kubernetes engine here first, and let's select a project first. So I already had created a project here. You can create a project in a similar way, and then you can create your own clusters. So I've created a cluster. The way to create a cluster is here. Click on this, give the cluster details. It'll create a default 3-node size cluster for you. Then you can go here, you can connect to a cluster, you can run in a Cloud Shell. So So it is trying to provision you a Cloud Shell now, right? This is what I wanted to show you, the Cloud Shell. Let's open this in a new window. Yes, this is your Cloud Shell. What we are going to do here. So we are inside a Cloud Shell. And if we are connected to kubectl, then we should be able to see pods, right? kubectl. Okay. kubectl get pods. Okay, I am running a demo application, that's why it is showing this, but I'm going to go more detail as we told in the video was that first we will go to a Cloud Shell. So to activate the Google Cloud Shell, there is a symbol on the top. You say activate Cloud Shell. Then you are inside this, right? Now you can open this in a new window, and that's where you can see your Cloud Shell. Okay, fine. So far, so good. Now, this is the place where you can pull your Spring Boot from Git, and then deploy the application and which I initially showed, right? Which we could connect to cloud. So next is, as per the video, we're going to pull the Spring Boot application, put the cloud related credentials in a JSON file and see if we can connect from here, if we can bring our hello world. If we are successful, then we'll build the Docker images for our cloud, which will push to container registry. And if we are able to successfully do that, we'll log into the Kubernetes client command and then see if we can pull those Docker images into Kubernetes. After that, we will try to use a Docker command, see if we can run. If we are able to do that, and yes, we are successful to pull the Docker images from container registry. And after that, we are going to create pods, and we're going to put the container inside the pod. And since we cannot address our application just through single IP, we'll have to create a service, then expose our deployment, application through deployment using a load balancer. So that is what we'll do now. So I use the git clone command, and then I pull the demo directory here after doing the git clone. And what I found is that I get a demo directory here. And then let's see if we can run this application, or if this application is already running. We can stop this. So where's the POM file? This is the forms file, right? So what I say, mvn spring -boot :run. Okay, so let's try to compile this. Mvn clean mvn compile. Beautiful, we are able to compile now. Let us see, let's go inside the source. Go to main. Then I want to go to resources. And observe that we have my first project.json. I don't want to do that. So I will replace this with the file name which I have in my so I'm going to replace the one which I have in my source code. This is what we have. I'm not sure how do I change the settings of this. Is there a way I can change settings for the Cloud shell? I'm not sure. So I'm just going to save this file now. It is having the dot location. So we do the code from the Git, and then we have put the Google credentials in the resources file, which I'll just show you again here. cd main, then we go to resources. And we see that we have a JSON file and we have a path for this JSON file application.properties. I would do a cat rather than vi. Let's see, cat. So in the cat, we see clearly that we have a Spring credential locations for which the class path is this, the JSON file. And then you have all the keys in JSON file. I'm not going to show more inside that. And then what we do is we're going to run the Spring Boot application from here. So this ensures that I'm able to basically, pull my Spring application, and then run it in Google Cloud Shell. MVN spring boot :1. Oh, congrats, here we go. Shall we test if this is up? Is there a way to know this? Yeah, there is something as web preview. Let's go to preview on port. Okay, let's try to give hello. Here we go, we got hello world. So that means we are successful in pulling the code, Spring Boot code, and then we also pull the credentials, put in the JSON file. We're able to bring up the application. We also tested that we are able to access this application. Now what is the remaining thing? So now what we need to do is we should be able to create the Docker image files for this, right? And how do I do that? So here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a Docker image, and we're going to use a MVN plugin. This is called as G plugin, to generate the Docker image. Let's see. Are we able to generate a Docker image? Wow. So it is generating the Docker images for us now. And see, it says built and pushed an image as demo v1, right? So far so good. We were able to, get the application code from Git, run it here, and then we were able to create the Docker images. So where are we now? In the whole diagram. Let's see if we have a diagram to explain what we have done until now. So what we have achieved until now, let's discuss very quickly. We have been able to containerize our Spring Boot application, and we were able to build the Docker images. We were able to connect to Google Cloud Platform by giving credentials, just like your EC2 instance, right? In your EC2 instance, what exactly you do in AWS? Let's compare a little so that idea will be very clear of what we do in EDS. So let's open diagram here, paint, and then what do you do in ECS? In ECS, you have something known as EC2 instance, right? What do? You do a maybe using QTFTP, right? Or whatever is. Use a QTFTP here. You have your own box here. This could be your personal laptop where you build your code and all. And then what you do is you make a jar file, executable jar file, put it to qtftp to the EC2 instance. You make sure that jar file goes here, and then you run the jar file. Java, jar, whatever your command is there, and you bring up your application. Now let's visit back here. So we went to the Cloud Shell and we pulled the code, and then we were able to run the Spring Boot, and we were able to make the containerize by making Docker images using the Maven Japs plugin. And now this is images are there in containers. But the question comes is that how do I pull these images inside Kubernetes engine? That's the exercise we are going to do now. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to use a command, Gcloud container get credentials. Now what is this going to do for us? It is going to connect us to the cluster, right? So when we're trying to connect to this cluster, and we have to mention its zone here, which mine is US Central 1, and then I'm giving my cluster name and then the project name, right? And then I give enter. So it is generated an entry for the project, and then I'm able to use the cluster. So now, since I connected to cluster Kubernetes, let's see if the Kubernetes control command works. kubectl get pods, kub Kubernetes control. So kubectl Okay, I'm seeing something. So application is already running, right? That's my demo application. Now, can I remove the bot? Can I delete this bot? What happens if I delete this bot? Is there something like delete pods command? Yeah, it is telling unknown command delete. So that means a known command delete is there. So it says Kubernetes delete pods. And then it says resource where provided but no name label selector or dash all flags specified. So let's delete everything which is there here. So let's do one thing. I think this is what he says. Yes. So I deleted the existing one. Let's wait for this. And then now I'll do get pods. So no pods are there. So far so good. I'm in Kubernetes control now. And I am connected to my project. I'm connected to my cluster, which is a 3-node cluster, the default cluster, which the Google Cloud Platform would create for you. What is the next task? The next task is that since I have images of the Docker which I created. Let's see if I have images somewhere. I have demo, but I don't see images anywhere. So they are there in the container registry. I need to pull it. How do I pull it? So the way to pull this is that I'll just try to give my image name. So I'm saying to Kubernetes controls, run me the demo application. And I have given the details of the image. And I've given the Google Cloud project, which is nothing but the home for, the images. Where is the home directory where the images are stored. Google Cloud project. So this Google Cloud project, by default, what it does is that whatever the default project you created, right, the details of that is stored in the environmental variables. So it will go and try to fetch the images. But remember this, that if this image is not found in your Kubernetes, it is going to search for the container registry to see if any such image is there, right? So let's see what happens. Wow, it said pod demo created. That means it got the pod from somewhere and it's got created. So did it pull this from container registry? I'm really not sure, but let's see what's going on here. Kubernetes control get kubectl get pods. Oh, see, it is running. So it took my images from the container registry, right? And it ran it. But let me do something. I'll delete this. I want to show you that how it takes from the container registry. So that's why I'm doing this again. Okay, deleted. Now if I say get pods, nothing is there, right? This is the default namespace where it is searching. Then so now I need to check if the images are there in container registry, right? What I will do is that I'll try to check if my images are there in the container registry. And for that, I'll go to my project. I didn't go to my project, but I need to make sure that I'm able to have a hold on the container registry. So the container registry is something which you can host locally or you can host it externally. But for now, Google gives me a default container registry. And I'm seeing the images, right? And in this images, I'm able to see my image here, which is colon v1, which are loaded 28 minutes ago. Which means that, that my image is there. Let's try to delete which we don't need. So I'm going to delete this. So only one image is there. And I'm not going to put any tag for now. Let it pull by itself. So you have this gcr.io, right? And this is where when you put the Google Cloud, it's going to pick up our projects. So when I run my application, or when I give a Kubernetes command, does it pick up my application? That's the question, right? So now what we do is that we're going to run the Docker command here just to make sure that we give the image. Let's see if I run this, whether it is going to find my Docker image. Let's try this. See, it said that it's unable to find the Docker image locally. It says it's failed to fetch from request v2 valid argument manifest. So something is not right with this Docker command, or it is not able to find my image. So let's do one thing. Let's clear this first. So there is a mistake with my, command, which I'll show you what is the mistake. So I need to give this Docker command where I'm mapping port 8802 the port of the container, and then I'm trying to pull the image. So we know that last time, as we saw, right, that the image is there in the container registry, as you see, right? This has to be pulled from container registry inside your Kubernetes engine. So I'm going to, pull that. I'm going to do that. So this is the one. If I give this command, let's see now. See, it took the image from the cluster, right? It is running this. Wow, here we go. That means we have been successful in pulling the Docker images from the container registry. So far so good. We have been able to pull the Docker images for our Spring Boot application from the container registry. Now what next? So next, what we are going to do is that since we are able to pull that image, the images is there now in Kubernetes. We are going to deploy this, right? And when we deploy this is a container. It will be inside a pods and we'll create a service. So that's what we're going to do now. So first and foremost thing is I need to check if we have any deployments, kube control. Get deployments. There's no deployment. Let's see if we have any services. Okay, this is the cluster service because we created it. And then we have a demo load balancer, which I'll tell you later. But for now, we will follow the next step is that we're going to create a deployment, then a service, and then pods also, and then we'll have the container inside our pods. So now we need to get the application inside the pod, right? So how do we do that? What is the command for that? Of course, it is kubectl, and what I do is that using kubectl, I will run this demo, and let's see if it is going to. So kubectl run demo, it is supposed to run this. And then it's going to deploy this application. Yeah, it said pod demo created, but it's not showing me the application deployed. This is some defect in Kubernetes. For now, ideally what should happen is it should have shown me, So let's do a get pods. Yeah, see in the pod is showing that demo one is running. All right, so earlier we deleted this, but you still see this as running. And let's see if any service is running. Yeah, so we have a demo running, and it's on a load balancer. But we have not done that. Sorry, this is my previous example, but we need to do it once again. So I'm going to expose to a load balancer, and then we'll take it from there. So far so good. We have, let's see what namespaces we have. No. So how do I get a namespace? Kubernetes control, get services, get deployments. Just deployment, show me. Okay. It says no results found in default namespace. But if you say get pods, shows me a demo running, right? How is this possible? So in order for me to clarify more on this, let's see how do I get the namespaces, okay? So I'll give this command. Yep, you see it is, right? I gave namespace default and I do see demo is running there. So let me clear the screen here and then repeat the command what I gave. So you do see that in the default namespace, my demo is running. So now I need to do one thing is that I need to expose this in a load balancer. So now, since we don't have the way to access our application, we have to have some technique for accessing our application. So let's try to expose our application as a load balancer so that we will be able to hit from an external IP. So let's expose this. Okay, it says demo not found, right? Exposure. Kubernetes expose deployment demo hyphen type load balancer. Deployment expressions demo not found. So this is looks like to me more some kind of issue with our application. Are we running the demo? So let's do this pod demo. Let's expose this as a load balancer. So I find that maybe this is some defect with Kubernetes. So I'm trying this. So it says demo already exists. Now what I do is that it says that services demo already exists. So you see this defect, right? When you get services. Let's try to delete the service and create once again. Okay, let's try to delete the service demo, right? Okay, so it is asking to specify you the service name, or you specify all. Let's not specify all, let's specify our name demo. Okay, now let's see. Why does not come out? Let's wait for some time and see if it comes out, right? Yeah, it came out. Now let's try to expose our service. So I'm going to try deployment because there seems to be some issue. So I'm going to try through pods. So it says now service demo exposed. Now let's see get all services. Okay, now we have demo which is exposed. The external IP is not at there, right? It shows it is pending. So maybe after it creates that, then we'll know what is the external IP. Right, so far so good. Yes, we got the external IP also. Can we try hitting the external IP and see if this becomes available for us? Hundred and four, right? It's having a cluster IP and then it's having load balancer, but it's slow, right? It says it still cannot connect. Let's try cluster IP. Let's say 3 on 8080. Couldn't connect us around 8080. Why is this? There's some issue. Why it's not able to connect? Yeah, it says very clearly for me that it is available on 14.197.4.124. But when I give this IP address, it's not able to access this. So what if I give :8080? Would it work? I'm not sure. Let's see. So what's the external IP I was getting here when I give services? 104.124, right? And then if I give this, if I give :8080, yep, we got it. There you go. Now if I give HELLO, so good. Now so far so good, right? We are able to access Springboard on an external IP. So now what remains? Now comes the most important part, that is auto balancing. So far what we have achieved now. This could be the configuration could be done in a YAML file also, but we are giving all the commands externally using Kubernetes. So say I want to, how many pods we have here now? So we have only one pod, right? What if I want to scale for more than one? So what I do was Kubernetes I will scale my application, which is demo, and I will give replicas as is equal to 3. Let's see. The server doesn't have a resource type demo. Okay, I will do the pods. So it's saying that, I need to mention name. What if I give, oh, okay. So how do I scale using pods? I'm going to try one more way. Let's see, I give the deployment name this time. So it says deployment extensions, demo not found. Now I will say pod. Or can you say services? No. So the pod name is demo, right? No. Let's try this command. So it says it cannot find the requested resource. Then if I give only this one, what does it give? No. Services. Yep, there is some issue with my deployment. Let me work on this. Maybe we should analyze this. So far so good. We were able to. So far so good. We were able to deploy a application to pods. We're not able to scale because there is a defect. In my next episode, I'm going to talk more on how to come out of this defect. But for now, if we do a Kubernetes CTL get deployments, we are able to see our application deployed. Oh, sorry, default namespace. So you can see that our demo one is ready and the start is 0. It's got an age, but I'm not able to scale this because of a issue with maybe my Google Cloud or something. I need to troubleshoot this and find. But in the next episode, we will be ready with that. My apologies for that. So To end this, we started with thinking of a real world application of how do we do a auto scaling real world application. We did see an example of how if there is a shift in center of gravity of a plane when we are scaling or we are loading the plane, an issue can happen, right? Similar way, when we auto scale our applications, it may not be center of gravity, but it may be something like operating point, right? The operating point is basically at what CPU usage your CPU is running at, what's the memory running, those kind of issues, right? So those are called our operating points. We need to be very specific on our operating points. And if there's a shift beyond tolerance, of course, your application is going to crash. Your auto scaling is not going to work. So let's see in the next episode those things in detail. Plus, we will see how to resolve the existing defect. So please do give me a feedback if you like this video, and then we'll take it from there. For now, thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode.